Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
Have you ever heard of record collecting compared to other hobbies, say like people who collect, I don't know, rare bottles of wine, maybe?
Wow. Well, that's kind of an interesting analogy, Jim. I can't say I have.
Well, let me put it like this. If you collected wine and you had a super rare bottle of something, I'm not a wine guy, but a super rare bottle, and it was sealed and corked for, I don't know, 50 to 100 years, and you got a hold of it, would you pop that sucker open and drink it down just to say, I tasted this and I enjoyed it?
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, why not? Let's pop it open and have a heck of a party, Jim.
Hello and welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where each week we two guys get together and talk not about wine, but about fine vintage albums. The kind that you are meant to open and enjoy. Let them breathe before spinning them on your turntables. My name is Jim and I own a record store.
And there's nothing like the smell of fresh black vinyl
That's
when it
true.
comes out. It's like a menu graph when you were young. Whoa. I am Steve. I'm really not a vinyl sniffing record collector.
There are weirder things in the world, I suppose. But hey, so if you folks haven't guessed, today we teased this last week with the Kinks record, but today we're going to talk about sealed albums. I've got a few in the store, and I only have one. I went back through. I've got one sealed album in my collection, and we'll talk about why that is still. But I thought it would be neat, Steve, to kind of delve into the hows and whys because I do see a lot of sealed albums showing up in collections at the store, and we've had a shared experience with a friend of ours who had a collection of sealed albums that he sold off at one point in time.
Yeah.
So this is a controversial subject, as you'd mentioned. So all of that is coming up here in a little bit, as well as some news on the Pink Floyd front. I know another episode, more Pink Floyd, but the band kind of commands it when they announce things like that were announced this week. There's no getting around it.
Yeah. As soon as the band announced it, YouTube just blew up.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we'll talk about that upcoming news announcement here in a little bit as well. And then further down the line, that Kinks record we talked about last week, I've got it here in my pile somewhere. I will open that sucker up right here on the podcast. We'll see what it is. Is it indeed a 61-year-old original Kinks, or is it something else? We'll find out together here on the podcast today. But before we get to all of that, as we do each and every week here on the show, we're going to talk about our most recent pickups and additions to the collection. Uncharacteristically, Steve, I've got a pile this week of some goodies, but we will get to all of that and we'll unseal that Kinks because that's part of the collection. I just have to figure out what it is.
Mhm.
So let's start
Okay.
off start off with you. How did your week go in pickups and additions?
And an average week, not crazy,
Good.
but yeah, there's stuff. A lot of it actually you're going to be able to find. You're going to go, God, thank God. He actually bought stuff I know what it is.
All
So
right. Cool.
except for except for the first one.
Okay.
And this just came out. It's Go Kawasawa. And they are off the Goo label that it was from Kadeki Moyo is the name of the band that started this label in Europe. And they keep putting out some really good things. Our friend Michael, he was a big fan of this and told me this was coming out. And so the name of this album is, what is it called? Go Shakes, I believe. Soft Shakes. And there's the name of the band right there. This relaxing, almost pastoral. It's psych to some extent, space rock maybe more, but on a very calm, relaxing way in which you just kind of chill to.
Okay.
Very chill. Really interesting album. Really enjoyed this. It sounds, yeah. After a hectic day, get a little Go Kawasawa in your life, and you'll just be much. Have it with one of those expensive bottles of wine
There we go.
that you want to uncork. Sonic Temple, classic. I don't need every called album, but they really put out some great albums in the '80s, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
really good stuff. Yeah. So I saw this nice original at a little tiny record store I was at, and uh, yeah, that's what I need. I have this. I have Love. I might have one other one. They also at that little record store they had REM and I believe Green.
Yep.
So this was again another just fun REM. I don't need all REM, but when you find an original, it's hard to say no.
Oh yes.
And so again, yep, nice original. And it actually even still inner sleeve is in there. Nothing, but cool. And at that same little tiny store, I mean, this didn't have a lot of use, but they had Tin
Oh,
Machine.
Tin Machine. Cool. Self-titled.
Yeah. The very first self-titled. So you have Under the Gun on here, and I mean Under the God, not Under
Yep.
the Gun, Under the God. And I really like this album. The second Tin Machine I thought was terrible, but the first one I really liked a lot. So that was there at a decent price and just beautiful condition. And finally, at that little tiny record store that didn't have much used, we have Orchestrated Maneuvers in the Dark, and we have Organization, and this has Enola Gay on it, their big hit, and yeah, good stuff. I like Orchestrated Maneuvers, not like this huge band, but their early stuff is a lot more interesting than their later stuff I found off Virgin Records. So we have that. And the final one from MoFi, James Brown,
Oh wow.
Sex Machine. Yeah, they just released this. Woo, baby, it's hot. And it sounds great. I mean, this is James doing his funky best. And so, live concert. And yeah, it's outstanding. Really enjoying this album. And James Brown, his funk period, I really like. His earlier stuff, it was a little, sometimes too, maybe a little slow at times, but not this.
And that's a brand new Mobile Fidelity.
Brand new. Just came out.
Well, very cool. Okay, it should be all right finding most of those, I think, on Spotify for the playlist.
Yeah, I think so.
My stack this week, Steve, is an interesting one. A week ago, they reissued the first Spinal Tap soundtrack album and one that they did in the 90s called Break Like Wind. And then this week, they released the soundtrack, if you will, or an album, I'm not sure what to call this, from Spinal Tap, the new movie, The End Continues. So, I've always enjoyed the Spinal Tap movies. It's very iconic. I could quote that until the very end, it seems like. So I'm looking forward with tentative hope in watching the new movie, because it's tough for me to watch sequels of something that is so stupendous as the original Spinal Tap. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's call it that for this. But the album came out, and I've given this a couple of listens. We opened one up here at the store, and much like a lot of the older rock artists today, Spinal Tap, the fictional version with Harry Shearer, Michael, I'm driving it. What the hell? Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, and Christopher Guest, they're all getting older as well, and it shows with a lot of the vocals on this. And they do have some guest vocals, which is the thing, but it's a fun record. It's not a fantastic record like the first one, but it's still cool. But then you get the likes of Elton John is on here singing a couple songs. Paul McCartney, whose voice really sounds old on this one. And the big surprise was there's a song on the original album called Big Bottom where they sing about the posteriors of women. And this one is sung by Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. So it's a really interesting cover of Big Bottom to hear them singing the lyrics on this. But very cool. No colored vinyl on this, but it does have a good inner sleeve with all of the lyrics and pictures of the band as they are now, so to speak. So always fun. So that's a cool one.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of my viewers, Isa, he always comments. He went and saw that movie and said it was very good. He really enjoyed it.
All righty. And all of that was, I still have my original Spinal Tap, this one from the 80s, and I've got the press kit. I think I've showed this before. I actually have a radio copy with the press kit inside, and it's cool in there. But they did reissue this. I did not open one of those up to see how faithfully they recreated that because I do have my original. And then the third one was The Break Like the Wind, was originally released in 1992. So a little older, but still some fun stuff and references. I think it was in their first resurgence of Spinal Tap. So they were still a bit younger. This one, by the way, is still sealed. I haven't had a chance to open it up yet, but I will. So, but that makes me a Spinal Tap completist at this point, I believe.
Yeah.
I think. Maybe they have a Christmas single out there or a picture disc, but I'm not going to worry about that. Other additions this week, some real cool stuff. You talked about funk. Here you got jazz funk. Buddy Rich and the album The Roar of 74, released in 74. I'm a former drummer from high school. Nothing really ever accomplished beyond that. But I still find myself tapping the steering wheel in time, and wasn't too bad, I guess. But Buddy Rich, I actually saw him play live. I think it would have been 1981 or 82 in Lansing, Buddy Rich and the Big Band, and it blew me away as a kid. And so I've got a few Buddy Rich albums in the collection, just kind of paying homage to my old times as a percussionist. But this thing is just absolute jazz funk. And you mentioned James Brown earlier. That's what this one kind of feels like from time to time as it kicks through here. A lot of instrumentals. There's one with some vocals on here, which feels a little bit weird, but it's still a good grooving record from Buddy Rich. Next up, I picked up, it doesn't look quite right, does it? Is there something a little different about this one?
Sure is.
This is the alternate rumors from Record Store Day back in 2020. That's a while back, I think. So it's the alternate takes album of Rumors. This popped through and I gave it a listen, and it's actually pretty cool because Rumors is such an iconic album in and of itself. You hear this again. It's tough sometimes to think about, well, let's just release the work in progress versions of the songs that weren't good enough to make the final cut of the album. But sometimes with some albums, it actually is kind of cool to hear their process. So kept a copy of the Rumors, the alternate Rumors with the alternate. Okay, one more pickup before we get to the Kinks. Last week, there were no comments on this, so maybe folks agreed with us. But, the proverbial wee man, I was digging on the Steve Miller Band a little bit, and Steve Miller for the lyrical prowess of this. This was a blind buy from Discogs. I do still do that occasionally. I know you're more prone to that wandering into record stores. But I had a customer, I order stuff off of Discogs for customers that for whatever reason they don't want to, or they don't have a Discogs account. So I track stuff down for them and order on Discogs. This particular order was for a 7-inch, and I don't like normally ordering 7 inches on their own. And some places have a minimum order. So this one did. So I started poking around on the Discogs seller page to find something else for me or for the store. And I came across this one called Kid Dynamite. All right. And it looked interesting. I glanced at it on Discogs. It said it was kind of funk, jazz, rock, or rock funk type of stuff. I listened to a couple sound samples. And I thought, okay. That's cool. Not quite the blind buy that I thought it would be, or straight up. But it was a blind buy when I got it. So it showed up and I started listening to it. And I thought, this is pretty darn cool. Let me call up my info on this, because it is a tremendously interesting story in the fact that this was released in 1976, and it was one of two self-titled albums by Kid Dynamite that were released in 1976. And I could find very, very little information on this band in and of itself. But then when I looked at the back, there's your 70s We're So Cool picture. But the quotes from the band members on the back read like the quotes you'd get on a book cover jacket or back jacket. Dick Thompson, bass, keyboards, and vocals, said, "We didn't leave the Steve Miller Band on a whim, but had definite plans for the direction of Kid Dynamite." And then John King on drums said, "We learned a lot from Steve, but had our own road to travel and haven't sacrificed any ideas putting Kid Dynamite together. So what this is, Steve, the Steve Miller Band, this is the band part of the Steve Miller Band, at least some of
Okay.
it. So in 1976, right at the height of Steve Miller Band, the Joker et al., all that stuff, these guys broke off to go do their own thing and then promptly disappeared into obscurity. It's just
Yeah.
the, the albums kind of flopped. They didn't go anywhere. So
Uh-huh.
Dick Thompson and drummer John King left the Steve Miller Band after contributing to its classic era, but they were frustrated at the time, according to what I read, on the band's direction. So they struck out to lead their own project, emphasizing heavier grooves and soulful hooks. So they recruited somebody by the name of Val Garcia, lead vocals. And funny you should mention James Brown because this describes it as a grittier James Brown-esque shout type singer, and Michael Mallon on guitar, who handled some background vocals as well. So this band has been kind of compared to a rock funk, but with disco tinged feelings in there. And they said, picture a grittier, rockified Kool and the Gang meets Earth, Wind, and Fire. And you've got this. It's
So
tremendously interesting, and I'm hoping I can find a sound sample on Spotify to share with you because it's really cool.
So as the band watched their album sync, they could watch Steve Miller's band shoot up into the stratosphere
Basically,
and then
yes.
go,
It's like,
yeah. It's all about good decision making.
yes. It's like, whoops. Now, Steve Miller is still touring and he's got international superstardom as Steve Miller. And Kid Dynamite is, when I first asked, I asked Rock about it. Give me some bio info on Kid Dynamite. It brought up a hardcore punk band from England. I'm like, no, I don't think this is the same thing.
Oh
Check these
man.
guys out. But
Yep.
it's still fun regardless. So those are the
Well, they showed Steve a thing or two there. Hey, we don't like it. You watch what we're going to do.
well, maybe they just didn't
Right.
like his rhyming scheme. We never know. But I look at this and there's a few covers on this. I should probably go back and mention. They cover Shotgun
Hey, Joe.
right off the bat. Shotgun. Let's see. Love Don't Last for Music Man. Everything's going to be all right. Turn the World Upside Down. Reach Out for Love. Keep on Moving. So there's a few. That's original. Maybe Shotgun's the only one on there, but still cool stuff.
Well, if they don't do Hey Joe, what good is it?
There you go. The final edition will be determined later on in the episode today with the Kinks. And you really got me. We're going to open up this sealed album here in a little bit, and we'll see exactly what's inside. So, as we do each and every week with the recent pickups and the other miscellany that we will discuss throughout the episode, we'll put together a Spotify playlist for you to listen in on these, so as we don't run afoul of the copyright police on YouTube, and that gives you folks a chance to listen in. Hopefully, we can find Steve's Japanese relax music and Kid Dynamite in there as well to funkify things up a bit. But you can find the link to that playlist in the description of both the YouTube episode and on the Spotify episode. Just scroll down a little bit and you can check that stuff out. So, Steve, before we get to the sealed stuff, I think we should probably talk a little bit about this news item that dropped this week. I think I texted you earlier in the week and said I found some rumbling somewhere that Pink Floyd seemed to be gearing up. Pink Floyd, the entity now, because obviously they sold that to the label, as we talked before. But the entity of Pink Floyd had started dropping hints on their website by digitally wrapping, I guess, album covers in black shrink wrap with a descriptive title. And that may be a cryptic thing that only a few people recognize, but Wish You Were Here, the big album from Floyd, celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. And I've had people ask, is there going to be a 50th for that? And I'm like, most likely. I doubt they would let that one slip by without a big 50th box set. And so they started hinting at it by putting that black shrink on the covers of a lot of the other stuff on there, hinting. The reference to that, Steve, there was an issue of Wish You Were Here originally back in 1975 that had a black shrink over the cover, the iconic cover of the Man on Fire Shaking Hands, and then it simply said Man on Fire Shaking Hands or something like that. And then inside that you got the cover, but it had that black shrink. if you ever, and I do have one of these in my collection at home, but if you ever find a Wish You Were Here with that original black shrink cover on it, it is worth a lot of money. And because
Hmm.
so many people just discarded that shrink and got rid of it, but that was actually part of the release in this case.
Okay. I when you texted me, one of my first questions I asked you was, is Roger Waters going to come out with his own version too?
He's probably going to, and it's going to be absolutely hideous, just like he did with the wall. But we'll see. So, yeah, let's head over to the Pink Floyd website really quickly here just to kind of check this out. And yeah, indeed, they are on their website really kind of touting the Wish You Were Here 50th anniversary. There are multiple variations of this coming out, including a humongous box set, but the the artwork looks kind of cool, iconic, and you're going to hopefully get the postcards. There's going to be, yeah, you mentioned, Steve, it's all over YouTube. There's no shortage of breakdowns on what this is going to be. But the big box set looks like this is going to include 2 CDs, 3 LPs on exclusive clear vinyl, Blu-ray disc of audio, and a 4th clear vinyl LP entitled LP4 Live at Wembley in 1974, another Wembley that's got Shine on, and you want to be crazy. But it looks like a huge box set. The other variations on this that that were popping up, let me call up my page here. There's going to be a bonus. Let's see, the compact disc version is out there. Looks like it'll be about $20. The album itself, and they are not giving me a whole heck of a lot of info on this. Let's see, the 50th anniversary, the vinyl, if you want just the vinyl itself, it looks like it's a triple LP version. It's going to be the original vinyl. I think there was a mix on there as well. And I apologize, I don't get a lot of descriptive stuff in here. It looks like that one's going to come in at around the $73 to $75 range. And then the big box set on its own, it's going to have the Blu-ray and all the extra stuff. Looks like that's going to be around $260, Steve. So, big stuff.
Wow. Wow. I'm not surprised. I figured, Ozzy can do a box set and get over 500.
Yeah, no kidding. So 200,
It's worth thousands.
yeah,
So
260 doesn't sound terrible for a box set of such an iconic album. And like I said, there's no shortage of videos kind of breaking down what Floyd has announced is in there. I haven't had a chance to go through it tremendously. December, what did I say? The release date on that looks like December 12th.
10th, 12th. Okay.
Yep, December 12th. So we'll do more on that coming up as we get a little bit closer. I think, I hate to say it, Steve, but I'm probably going to get the box set.
I gave up. I've stopped buying box sets, so I'll probably buy it too.
Yes, there we go. But we'll keep you guys updated on that. It's going to be a good one. And again, it's such a fantastic Floyd album. It's up there for me as far as those releases go. When that shows up, Steve, when you get this box set that you're done buying box sets of, are you going to open it up, or are you going to toss it on your shelf and say, I'm going to hold on to this one for whatever reason?
There's too many goodies in there to not want to open that one up.
And as we mentioned at the top, as we mentioned at the top of the show, this is a controversial subject: to seal or unseal. And if we compare it to wine, what's the point? If you've got this bottle of wine, you want to open it up, you want to taste it. If you've got a record, you want to open it up and listen to it. Folks have their reasons to leave things sealed. I don't know, personally, not for me.
Yeah. I have some I've left sealed, and it's just there are a lot of collectors that they're buying it and they hope to resell. They hope that it goes up. They play this final stock market. Nothing wrong. Hey, you know what's their money? Do what you want, and that's okay. As you mentioned, we have a guy that we know that only bought sealed records, but he didn't get quite what he was hoping for when he tried to sell them all.
No, and because as I'm going to show with a little stack I've got here at the store, it can be a tricky business, because if you've got something that's sealed, whether it be 10 years, 20, 30, in some cases 50 plus years on some of these that I've got sealed, 60 years possibly with the Kinks, anything can happen inside of that shrink that you may not know of unless it's been cared for very meticulously. So there is a danger in that. And then you've got the more unscrupulous side. Okay, what if these have been resealed? So there's always a danger in that.
Yeah, I've seen a on sellers now where if it's a sealed record, they say, "We are not responsible for what's in there. This is a sealed record, so you're buying it at your own risk."
And I mentioned that when I sell sealed old stuff here in the store, I make sure to emphasize it's sealed presumed mint. And yes, that is the roll of the dice you take when you buy such an old item that is sealed. Is like, okay, as a seller, as a store owner, there's no way that I can guarantee that this is what it is unless I open it. And the instant I open it to see and verify what's in there, it loses, maybe upwards of 50% of its value in some cases. Some not so much. But if for bigger records or bigger names, if you open that up, that just because the act of opening that seal, you devalue it tremendously instantly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's kind of where I have one of my albums that I've been struggling with to open it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I know the music. I have the music downloaded. I can listen to it, but it's sealed. And if I open it, in fact, there's not even a seal on Discogs for sale, and unopened ones go, it has an average price of $141. Well, shoot, I'll just show it right now. And I'm not going to do an unsealing like Jim's going to, but it's this Diamante Gallus I bought. It's sealed. And it goes right now. The high price is like $260. Medium's $141, and there's not even a sealed copy for sale. And all the copies for sale are out of Europe. There's nothing in the U.S. So I have left this because actually the price keeps going up, and it's a quandary. I enjoy. I open a lot of my albums, most all of them, but I have a few which I have reasons for. But this is one that's really been bothering me. I've yet to file it, Jim, since I
Just
bought it
because
last year.
it's hanging over you, like
Yeah,
the
it
sword
is.
of Damocles.
It really is. And many people will say, "God, just blast it, open the damn thing, and play."
Well, it's a tough decision too,
I mean,
because if you've got
that,
a playable version or you can stream it, that adds to it. It's like, well, yes, my story on this, and I think I've told this before a few times, has to do with the Rush album Snakes and Arrows. It came out originally in 2007, and for whatever reason, being the Rush fan that I was in 2007, I don't know why I skipped a purchase on this, but I did. We all make mistakes, right? That happens from time to time. So I got the reissue, which was a 200-gram reissue sometime afterward, but then always kind of regretted not getting that original 180-gram back in the late 2000s. And then I ran across one from a guy who had several. He's the type of person that does collect multiple copies of things and then leaves them sealed. He had something that I wanted, i.e. the 180-gram original, and I had a couple of things Rush-wise that he really wanted, so we struck a deal to trade it. Now, as I mentioned, I already had the 200-gram reissue, which, by the way, is no slouch when it comes to Discogs, but the original was worth a lot as well. So we made the trade. He ended up talking with me again 2 or 3 months later, and he asked, so what'd you do with the Rush Snakes and Arrows? I said, well, I opened that up. Why would you do that? Oh, you've already got one. Why did you open that up? I'm like, well, yes, I already have one, but I wanted to hear this one. This is, it doesn't sound any different. No, not at all. But I wanted to hear that original one. Plus, I got the satisfaction of opening that one up and thought it was very cool to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. And, I have that, and I do have that happen a lot. There's just certain times. I mean, I have some, Jim, this is a big star. Now, this is a reissue, but it's still sealed because I have an original. And I can play the original anytime, but I needed a cover. And so I've done this on a number of albums. So I bought in a reissue of it just to have the album cover. I don't open them. Sometimes I do. But then I question, why did I do that? Because I can play that.
Well,
Now,
and your situation's a little different as well because of the flood. You lost so many, but saved the vinyl. So, I mean, that could be in a lot of cases excusable for not opening one up.
Yeah, which I've mentioned it before. If you do have sealed records, the floodwaters will get into it anyway, so it just doesn't matter. But now my question where on here though is it isn't like I play this album every day, or like even every month. But when I do, it is the original I'm playing. Would it be better just to take that out and not screw around with the original? But I mean, if I played it all the time, yeah, I should play that, but I don't. But yeah, so I do have a number of albums like that.
Now I've got a couple, and in prepping for this episode, I've got more sealed albums in the store than I realize. I put them out; they sell occasionally. Personally speaking, I only have a couple of things that have remained sealed for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back a little bit here. This is a very interesting pair of records. It's from an artist named Jeremy Zuckerman, and he had performed the soundtracks for an old animated, and by old, I'm talking, oh heck, when I'm trying to remember when these came out. My kids were younger, so it's been about 20 years or so.
Yeah.
From the animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender. My kids were big fans of this, and it was kind of cool. When this first one, now you have to kind of go back and remember what the theme of that show was. It's broken up into a real animated adventure with 4 books. You've got water, earth, air, and fire as kind of the arcing storyline through this fantasy. So when the soundtrack came out, I saw this was from 2023. It said book 1 water. And so, of course, I assumed that they were going to release 4 soundtracks for each of the 4 chapters of the animated series. So originally I thought I'm going to get this for the kids, and I'll just wait until I get all 4 of them, and then we'll deal with it from there. Well, as it turns out, they released this one, and I left it sealed. I put it on my shelf, and then I forgot about it because they never released another one until earlier this year. Out of nowhere, on my pre-orders pop up book 2, Earth. And so I thought, okay, well, it's been 2 years, but all right, we'll take the second chapter of this. So I got this, and I left it sealed as well, and promptly forgot about it, even though it was just this year, because they're not releasing. I'm wondering if I'm going to have to wait 2 years for each of these just to complete a set. And I'm going to leave them sealed until such time, and then we'll decide what to do. I think I got another set for the store that I could put out. They're going actually pretty high on Discogs for these. $60, $70, $80 in some cases.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hold on and try to get all 4 of them before I decide to do what to do with it a set. So I'm not going to open them up in the interim. Watch what'll happen though. Eventually every 2 years they'll release these until we get all 4 of them, and then they'll put out a box set.
Yeah. With goodies inside.
Yeah, of course. But so, I mean, this is kind of cool, but these are sealed for a reason, i.e. I'm waiting to get an entire set, even if it does take 8 years to do. I'm patient, and we'll see what happens from there. And maybe these originals will be worth even more by then.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes I buy because I think, hey, that might go up in value. I have this album, but I'll buy that. And maybe it's a good price, but one is, here we have, original masters, these nice box sets that came out, and Stevie Ray Vaughan's Couldn't Stand the Weather. I have an original of this. That's very, very nice. So I bought this. This is number 749 of 7,000. And so you look on Discogs, and the medium price on Discogs on this was $120, and the high price is $211. So you go, okay, see, look, all right, that sealed copy's $211. Not so. When you actually go into Discogs and start looking, people are selling sealed copies of this for $123. So you can't trust that high price in there. And I know you get people coming in and they look at that high price and they're excited. Well, it's sealed. This is what it goes. Well, guess what? There's a whole bunch of people selling that same dang sealed thing for a whole lot lower. And, no, it doesn't. And, for me, again, I've seen that tweet. Like, well, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. That's doing great. And it's like, oh, not really.
And
worst one.
Yeah, Discogs can throw that average off if you've got one sale that somebody somewhere decides, oh, it's a good deal. I'm going to pay $500 extra for that. That throws the entire average off. So, but yeah, it pays to go in and look at what other ones are out there.
Absolutely. That I had sealed it. And I have it. It's Pearl. This is number 336 out of 10,000. And so, They are real limited. And it shows the average price on this. What was it? $52.
Wow.
$52 is your average price, your middle
Yeah.
price. It goes for high as $323. You can buy sealed copies of this box sets on Discogs for $53 sealed.
Yep.
I mean, it costs a lot more than that when you bought it. And so, but they put out 10,000 of them. It has not held value. People don't care. And so now everyone's trying to, God, I got all those sealed copies I bought, trying to dump them. And so they're at the medium price
Yep.
that they're trying to sell them
And
at.
that's a big,
So you
big
never
risk.
know.
Yeah. That's part of the risk of
It is.
do I get this? Do I open it? Do I not? If you hold on to something, yeah, you run that risk of saying, okay, well, now the MoFi stuff is interesting because they do such a good job. Their package, the price point on them to begin with is tremendously higher. So
Yeah.
you're really kind of rolling the dice that folks are going to want that, but it's something that will appeal to audiophiles. And in the case of a sealed MoFi box, you have to not only appeal to an audiophile, you have to appeal to a collector of that artist, and you have to appeal to someone who says, I recognize the value of that. Whereas I could go buy a reissue copy of that for $25, $30.
Mm-hmm. On both of those, I have originals of both of those albums. But guess what? I'm just going to open them now because they're not worth it.
Yep.
They didn't go on. And I'm not going to wait there 20 years because I'll be dead. So, if I brought them in, I'm not going to get that big of value, especially that pearl. You're going to look at that and go, oh, Jesus, I'll give you $25 for it. You're like, what?
Let it go.
But you don't know.
Yeah.
And when you flood, yes, fragile. That one, average price is $96. You can buy a sealed copy on Discogs for $100.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you just it is a real crapshoot. I really do that. So I thought, hey, we'll see what happens. And as I was prepared for this episode, I go, well, doesn't that suck? The Diamante Gallus is totally different. That is going up. There are no sealed copies. That becomes worth something.
We had, and I don't know as if we talked about this on the podcast or not. I know I've talked to you about it, but about a month ago, I had an Ozzy box set, that huge Ozzy box set that retailed for $600-700, sealed, come into the store. And the guy that brought it in had bought it from me earlier in the year, kept it sealed, and was kind of rolling the dice on it. And in this case, it paid off because that thing, it goes now on Discogs, it goes for upwards of $2,000 sealed. So, but that's just kind of a timely thing that's happening because of all of the attention with Ozzy.
Yes. Yeah. That's called hitting, buying right, buying your stock at the right price. Buy it low. Though you didn't buy it low, it was still high, but it went higher.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the only other sealed one, in looking at my collection, Steve, that I've got is it's a Grand Funk Closer to Home. And this is an odd one because about a year or so ago, we had an entire collection of sealed Grand Funk come in. So I was confident that this was a good seal buy, and I sold all the rest here in the store, but I decided to keep this one because my copy of Closer to Home that I had was really beat up. It was noisy and scratchy. It was original. And then I tucked this away saying, okay, I'm going to open that up and listen to it. And guess what? Never did. So it's just amazing. It's 1970, so it's already way up there in years. And the ones that were opened were good. So this one, I'm positive, is in good condition. And the reason that I haven't opened this yet is because it's here with me in my collection at the store, but I always typically have a copy laying around. So same thing with you. Mm-hmm. If I want to listen to this, I can go grab the store copy and play that and say, well, I'll open this one up sometime and get to it. So this one remains sealed, and it's worth a lot more sealed, but that doesn't matter to me because it's going to be my copy. And when I don't have a store copy around someday, I'll go, oh yeah, and we'll slice her open and see what we got. Now, sealed records, I had to do some research on this, Steve, going back, finding out when, because several years ago now, probably about 6 years or so back, I brought in a collection here at the store that was from an estate, and it was the type of collection that could have been from a record store stock. My guess is that the person that had them either had a connection to an old record store in the 60s or 70s, or they bought all of these from a record store and then just held on to them. But they are records from the 50s. And let me just kind of roll through. I've got probably about 60 or 70
Yeah.
left, but you remember these. We get Harry Belafonte, Conrad Janis. By the way, Conrad Janis was the actor who played the father on Mork and Mindy. And before he was a TV guy, a sitcom star in the 70s, he was a big band
Huh.
jazz trombonist in the 40s and 50s. So that's sealed. And then we've got Pete Fountain. This is a dollar bin record all day long, or I put them in mystery bags, 10 for a buck, but a Pete Fountain album sealed. Gale Storm, what is this, 1958 I wrote on there, sealed. And George Maharis from the 60s, complete with an autographed picture inside, sealed. And George
Ooh.
Maharis I think he was a TV star as well at some point. So I did some more research on this, especially with the ones from the 50s, the Conrad Janis and the Harry Belafonte. And it turns out that the record labels did not start sealing records until the early 1960s. Columbia was kind of a pioneer in this, starting in 1960 or 1961. And they started doing this when there were more big retailers getting into record selling, things like Sears, some of the other, well, even Kmart at that time. Was it Kmart still in the 60s, or was that a little early?
1963 was the
Okay.
first one.
So the big retailers concerned with theft, concerned with shoplifting, or even more so concerned with handling. So you'd get these open copies coming in. People would come into the store and say, oh, look, here's a brand new record that costs more than any used one. And they start fingering it up or dropping it or whatever. So there was that issue with
Mhm.
that. Then there was the issue of shipping. They would ship, hundreds of records to these big stores. Unsealed, they had the propensity to bounce around a little bit, damage the sleeves, damage the records. So the sealing process began in the early 60s and caught on throughout the early to mid 60s for all of the major labels to do. And it varies. You mentioned too that when your flood happened, some of these have little perforations or breathing holes to keep the records from shrinking or contracting too much, and that's why some water got
Sure.
into yours.
Mhm.
But
You can just imagine in those stores as people picking them up and they spill out onto the floor and kept
oh yeah,
shattering or in their stock rooms. Oh, damn.
yeah, you're losing a lot of stock that way. So my big question is, now that I've got some distance in this purchase, is these are all records from the 1950s, and the labels, in this case, Jubilee, which is a big label in the 50s and 60s. This is a 1950 something album, but it's sealed. So there are my questions. If they didn't start doing that until the 60s, these, and this one's got a price sticker inside, have obviously been resealed at some point or sealed for the
Mhm.
first time, is my guess. So
Yeah.
what I'm thinking happened with this particular batch is it's from a record store. They were probably purchased as overstocks or something like that, hence the 1 cent sale.
Mhm.
A lot of these had this in there, and I always thought that was kind of fun. People look at that, a 1 cent sale, buy one for $2.98, buy another for 1 penny, buy two for $2.99, and you're all good to go. So at some point, I'm guessing these were overstocks. They slid the sale cards into them and then ran them through a sealing process to put back out to smaller stores or clearance stores or something like that. So does this count as a sealed record from the 1950s?
Yeah. I just wanted to know, do they sell for around $50 because it's still a great sealed record?
Absolutely not. $5 on Gale Storm, $5 on Pete Fountain, $5 on George Maharis, 5 on Harry Belafonte, and they don't sell for that price sealed here in my store. I've had them for several years, and they
Yeah.
sit. Once in a while, somebody will come along and pop them on there. But yeah, these are dollar bin records, no matter what. And sealing them, or in this case, resealing them in the early
Mhm.
60s, doesn't matter. Now, I have opened them. When I got this collection, there were multiples, as I said, sealed. I opened a few because I didn't think, it's a little too good to be true. I didn't realize that they didn't start sealing until the 60s then. But even then, I opened them up and it was still mint, brand new vinyl. Good stuff to go in there. So they'd been taken care of. They're flat. The shrink didn't bend any corners or anything like that. So they made it through there. Do you remember the punk collection, the big punk collection from several years back?
Mhm.
There were
Yeah.
numerous. There were numerous, as you
Of course.
recall. Yeah, sealed ones in there.
I own half of it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I had a customer. There was a Gang of Four album that came through. I forget which one it was, but at that point it was 50 years old, and or 40 years old rather. And the customer that bought it was thrilled. He was a younger guy. The record was older than he is, and he says just to be able to take that and realize that I've got something from the early 1980s or late 70s, early 80s, and I am the first person to open that up and look inside at this. That's kind of a thrill for people buying and
Sure.
opening older sealed records. When I bring in records to the store and there are sealed copies inside, I always have to wonder, it's like, okay, I wonder why. Did you, like me, not get to opening this? Did you, like so many other people, decide I'm going to hold on to this and then hopefully get a ton of money out of it? But I'm always interested when that happens. And we do get a lot of sealed stuff. Right now, the current ones I've got, a Sticky Fingers, but it doesn't have a zipper. It's a 2015 reissue, barcode and everything, but it's still sealed. So 15, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
1988 Van Halen. You would think that a fan would have opened this sucker right up and dive into it, but no. I dig this one here, Steve. A sealed 1983 Christopher Cross. It rocks. But right on the front there, how old is your needle? Do you need to get a new needle? Take care with it.
Uh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, this one here is 69. Okay, this one has always been kind of a mystery. I don't think this has been resealed because the seal is not great, but a box set from John and Yoko with their wedding album. It's I'm sure that this is original, but also you can feel the records bouncing around in there. So I'm tremendously
Mhm.
suspect if they've survived all that time.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy that one.
No. And then one final one is from a group called Dulcimer. It is 1971 folk rock. And this one in particular, um, I always have to be kind of careful. I've got this priced real aggressively for the store. But in this one, the shrink is kind of coming off on the back, so it's still a good seal along the edge. But the shrink has contracted enough that you see it bending the cardboard outward
Yeah.
a little bit. And that's the problem. You get heating and cooling, contraction and expansion that kind of mess with this over time. And if it's not stored right, a seal is not going to protect a record.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention that if you see a sealed one, you need to really look at how tight is that shrink wrap on there. If it's pretty old and it's very tight, you better look to see if there is some bend because it can happen. And chances are you may have warpage on there. You are taking a chance. Generally, I don't see it, but once in a while.
That's a good point, is to try to pass along some hints to people. If you find a sealed record, an older one, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old in a store, look at what that seal has done. There's been times too, I've even got one that's in my collection, I forget what it is, where the shrink wrap on the outer side had actually melded and bonded to the cardboard. And when you try to peel that seal
Mm,
off, it just simply shreds and makes the cover look horrible because it became a part of that cardboard. It just, for whatever reason, heated and cooled and heated and cooled. But that's the other thing too, is if you think that seal has been in there heating and cooling and messing up the shrink wrap, what's that doing to the vinyl inside? Yep, but again, a lot of sellers are going to do and they take that extra caution, saying you are buying a 30 to 40-year-old sealed record.
mhm.
Once you open it, you have completely devalued it, so you take responsibility for, and that's that roll of the dice we talked about earlier. If you open something up
Yeah.
there. Now, what I do here at the store is I've got a nice flat counter. And so if I get a sealed record, and I've had this happen before where some folks will bring it in and say, hey, man, this is sealed. And I put it on that flat counter and you start pressing it and feeling it. You can,
Yeah.
in some cases, if it's not a gatefold, especially feel that record inside. And I've come back and said, dude, this is warped. You can feel it. And I show them and they press on it. And you can feel that cardboard move in the record
Sure.
inside, and you know that it's warped in there. And I said, I'm sorry, but this
Mhm.
one is going to be a problem when we open it up.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. It's a good observation to look at some of that. It is tough, and the main reason is I if I don't have it, I'm going to open it, and what you just paid for it, yeah, it's sealed. I mean,
Yep.
you'll never get that value. And now, it's about the music. So that's what a lot of people say. It's about the music, but still the fact is, I just paid a whole bunch of money for that. It just dropped. I got the record, but yeah.
And that's the gamble. Okay, Steve. So all of this brings us back to the Kinks. You ready for this? We're gonna see what's in here. Let me call up. Let me call up Discogs here, and we will take a look. So here is Discogs. You folks can kind of go with me on this and see how I typically will do things through here. So right off the bat, I'm going to say, okay, this is the Kinks. You really got me. It's a Reprise 6143. So let me kick this in here. Kinks 6143. And we'll just look for the master release. I don't see that one there, so we'll just get to the master release in this case. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open this up right here on the podcast, Steve, and we'll see which version this is. A couple of things that help with this leading up to this as we go is that the cover can give you some hints. It's not always foolproof, but sometimes the cover can give you some hints as far as what it is that we are looking for. So in this case, it's a different cover because the main Discogs landing page takes us to the UK version. So right off the bat, I'm seeing that there's 146 versions. We'll knock that down to vinyl only, and that takes us to 94 versions. I know that this is a US Reprise. We can even kind of go in through here. It's not the Pi. Man, if this were the Pi UK, it would be worth a ton of money. But we're going to look for the Reprise. I probably passed by it here, didn't I? Well, let's go to the US first. 30 US versions. There's Reprise. 26 vinyl US Reprise. So the other clues right off the bat, this is a stereo. I can tell from up top it says stereo on there. So we can go with that and say that we narrow this down. The numbers match, the back matches. There's an ELT on the back of the cover. So my guess is, Steve, that this is going to be one of, well, the first one is a stereo. Let's see. Then there's a promo mono stereo. So in 64, if I narrow this down to 1964, we get to 13 versions. And 1, 2, 3, 4, Santa Maria, 5, 6, 7 of them look to be stereo. So it's one of these. So right off the bat, let's just take the generic stereo that's not labeled as a Terre Haute. And Discogs tells us the median price is 29. High end could be about 76. So assuming then that 76 would be the sealed version of that, you'd have to go in and check. More common in our area, we get Terre Hautes. So let me go to the first stereo Terre Haute pressing. $14 to $15.
Poor Terre Haute, man.
Poor Terre Haute.
No, Terre. Yep. Terre Haute does not. It's like, oh, it's a Terre Haute pressing. Oh, forget it.
They do not get the love that they get. So, okay, time has come, Steve. Let me get out my trusty X-Acto knife.
All right.
Carefully not to cut myself. We're going to open the seal. You guys can see that this is sealed. We're going to find out what this Kinks album is. And I've tested this on the flat as surface, as I've said. So I'm confident that this has got a good piece of vinyl inside. We'll see if it's that Steamboat label, though. Let me make sure we're still on camera for this. Giving me a little bit of a hassle. Drum roll, Steve.
Look how nice you do. Yeah, I'm just surprised how nice you do instead of just ripping the damn stuff off. I mean,
it's like a kid at Christmas, right?
Surgically.
All right, so
yeah.
Here I'm smelling this, right? Like a fine wine. Right off the bat, it is not. It's got a Warner Reprise Lost Leader inner sleeve telling me that this is going to be a reissue, Steve. Yep.
Oh, man.
It is not the tri-color Steamboat label, so this is a later issue. So let me go back to Discogs here. It's a bummer, isn't it? So I'm going to take 1964 off. I will look at the side one run out and see that we have a 0. Nope, there's an S for the Santa Maria pressing. So I'll type in S in the other field there. Santa Maria. So we get the Terre Haute. There's the Santa Maria 64. And I can double check here. Santa Maria 64. That's a mono. Pittman Santa Maria pressing stereo 68. Looks like the first one. And there we have it. The pressing rings match. there's the side. The rest of that matches. That's a bummer. So what's it worth is the question.
Yeah.
Santa Maria
Yes.
68. It's because I didn't see any Santa Maria. There's a promo Santa Maria. There's a mono Santa Maria. There's a stereo from 64. Sorry. All right. So the stereo 64 Santa Maria's got the tricolor steamboat. Not the case here. So we do have a 1968 Santa Maria pressing. It could also be the 69. Nope. 69's got back to the tricolor with the upper part, but so this one is most definitely a 1968 Santa Maria pressing. Double check one more time. There it is. That is the one the pressings rings match. And then I lose it again. 68. So let's see what she's worth. Never sold, Steve. This one does not exist. Not sold. This particular one's not sold. One copy is available right now for $20. But here's the promising thing. 5 people have the Santa Maria pressing. 66 want the Santa Maria pressing.
Okay.
So if I go out of there and let's dump the S for Santa Maria and find a 68 comparable. And this is another way to check these. There's only 2 pressings from 68. There's another Santa Maria pressing from 68, so maybe it's this one as well. I'll do some digging and see which of these it is. This one here, same things, never sold. The Santa Maria is never sold. 6 copies starting at $30. So not terrible. Not terrible.
No, but if it had still been sealed, that probably would have been worth $100.
Damn it.
Because it's never been sold. Now
it's worth it's worth $15 tops, Steve. But you know what?
Oh, the things you could I
you
blew
didn't
that
have
one.
this in the collection. But yeah, right off the bat, the telling thing for me right off the bat was the Warner reprise. You see these the Lost Leaders inner sleeves in a lot of the reissues, but so not a terrible pickup. It's just not that older tricolor reprise that went in there, but instead the 68. So I'm happy with it. Regardless, it's still early.
All right, there we have it.
And
that's all that's important.
Maybe at some point in time I will find the original. We'll go with it from there.
Excellent.
All right, folks. So what do you think? Do you have any sealed records in your collection? And if so, why? Why are they sealed? Why aren't you spinning those suckers? Do you have an excuse like Steve and I? Oh, Steve's opening one. What do we got? You opening the
Forget
Pearl?
that, man. No one cares. Yeah, since I can buy a used one for the same price as a sealed one, why not? There we go. All right, it is now open. So, okay, there we go, folks. We did it.
Is there there's no question as to the pricing or the pressing of that, rather. Sorry.
There's no record in there. Actually, look at that. You get this. That's nice. You get a little book. See? That's nice. And is there a record? Oh, there is a record also. And yeah, there you have. Oh, it's a 2-record set. That's not bad for $53. Oh, look at that. Little split on the top.
Oh, I hate when that happens. They bounce around in there. That's the other big problem with a lot of those box sets. In shipping, they'll bounce.
It is absolutely, you are right. Yeah, that's not for $50.
Not too bad.
That's a lot of stuff. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Okay. Well, there we have it, Jim. And it's 45 RPM, damn it.
Oh.
But I should have known that. So, yeah, okay. It was not surgically done, though, opening.
Rip it up, Steve.
Yeah, yay.
Okay, folks, enough of our frivolity here. And hopefully we have encouraged you to open up any sealed records you may have for whatever reason. Dive in, see what they are, see if they're worth something, and they're worth nothing now that they're opened. We have devalued the Kinks tremendously, but I don't care because I'm going to listen to that one today.
Unless you have this, you haven't devalued it whatsoever.
All right, Steve. As always, folks, please feel free to chime in, comment on the YouTube and or the Spotify page. We love hearing from you, even if we don't answer you immediately. We do dig it, and we love getting some feedback from you folks on this. All right. So until next time, this has been fun, Steve. I'm going to toss the Kinks on now and see what we got going. But my name is Jim, and I own a record store with lots of other sealed ones that I'm not going to open because I'm trying to sell them.
I'm Steve. I'm a record collector, and I now have one less sealed album.
Well, you don't have to put that back on your box set shelf now either, do you?
There we go. Yes.
Have a good week, Steve. We'll talk to you later.
You too, Jim. Bye, everyone.